Thank you. Good evening, students. I see a lot of new names coming up today. Looks like there is some kind of thing there, and some students were gone into final logins and now they're back to inter logins. So if there's any such technical issues, you could inform the Board of Studies. They will rectify and can start the classes in a proper place. Okay. So in our previous session, we'll continue because we are on the same topic of place of supply. So just to recapitulate where we had left from, and there were a lot of questions. I know that some questions which were unanswered. So we will take up those questions, resolve those questions, and then move forward because unanswered questions will keep haunting you. So we'll take up those questions and then start. To recapitulate where we were talking of the concepts on time of supply and on the place of supply, wherein for a transaction we have to decide the two things to decide whether it is an interstate transaction or an intrastate transaction. Those two things are location of the supplier and place of supply. So we know where is the location of supplier is where the good starts its movement. That is the location of supplier. And in case of services, the location will be the registered place of the service provider. That will be the location of supplier. Now, place of supply is very much relevant because to decide what is the place of supply, because GST is a consumption based tax and tax has to go to the respective state. That's why it is important that we decide the place of supply. So for a transaction of movement of goods, there could be various pointers. So we'll have to identify which is the pointers. So the law has to decide that this is the pointer which you have to take and this is the place of supply. So once the law says that this is a point of supply, then that becomes the place of supply. Like in case of goods, we discussed that there are various types of transactions where the supply involves movement of goods, right? And the supply involves movement of goods. The place of supply is where the delivery terminates. That is the place of supply. In case of a bill to ship to transaction, wherein I'll go through those slides so that it becomes easier for you. Yeah, we are discussing on these 5 things where the supply involves movement of goods. That is the first aspect. The place of supply is the location of the goods at the time when the movement of goods terminates. Second kind of transaction is where it's a bill to ship to transaction. Good example is this, wherein a supplier is supplying to Maruti traders. So he's billing it to a customer in the same state, but shipping to another state. In that case, it is a transaction of intrastate nature because the billing is happening to an entity which is in Maharashtra in the same state and the shipping is happening to another state. So in that case, the billing address to whom you bill to is relevant to decide the nature of transaction. The location of supplier is in state A and the billing address also is in state A. So bill to and this is ship to. So to where you bill to the entity, where that entity is located will decide the place of supply. Okay, so this is a transaction of bill to and ship to. Okay, and then there is another sale from the entity which is billed to ultimately the entity which has been shipped. For that, there is another invoice which will be raised. That will be a IGST invoice because the location of supplier is in Maharashtra in this case, and place of supply is Karnataka. So with this being two different states, it is an IGST transaction. The another kind of transaction what we discussed was where the supply does not involve movement of goods. Then where the goods are already existing, are already there at a place and it does not involve movement. Then what is the place of supply? The place of supply is where the goods are already available at the time of delivery to the recipient. The place of supply is the location of the goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. We saw a good example of a transaction where I've sold some goods on lease basis and the lessee is utilizing it. At the end of the lease period, the lessee says, I want to buy it, and you're selling those goods. So when you're selling those goods, the goods are already existing. It does not involve any further movement. In such case, the location of the goods is the place of supply. Okay. Then in case of 10(1)(d), we saw where the supply involving installation or assembly of goods, where the supply involves a element of assembly or installation. Then the place of supply is that location where the goods are being installed or assembled. Then the last situation for supply of goods was where the goods are supplied on board a conveyance, where you supply a goods when there is a movement in the conveyance. A conveyance could be a ship, aircraft, or vessel, a train, anything. So when any goods are supplied on board a conveyance, the place will not be where it is getting consumed. The place of supply shall be the location at which such goods are taken on board. So these were the aspects which we covered in place of supply of goods. Please explain 4.4, okay, relating to continuous journey. The meaning of stopover are understood from the definition of continuous journey is where the passenger break his journey for a certain period in order to resume it at a later point of time. But in this example, the passenger took 3 days to resume back his journey and it is considered as a continuous journey. Okay, let us take this question so that we are understand. Page 4.40, example number 32. I'll just share this. Mr. Shyam, an unregistered person, is based in Gurugram, Haryana, books a two-way air journey ticket from New Delhi to Mumbai on 5th of December. He leaves New Delhi on 10th of December in a late night flight and lands in Mumbai the next day. He leaves Mumbai on the 14th December in the morning flight and lands in New Delhi the same day. The return journey is treated as a separate journey, even if the tickets for onward and return journeys are issued at the same time. Thus, so it is clear, madam, that the return journey is treated as a separate journey. So it is not treated as a consolidated journey. There are two separate journeys, but the person is a unregistered person. Okay, so if he is an unregistered person, the place of supply for the outward and return journeys are the location where the unregistered person embarks on the conveyance for the continuous journey. That is New Delhi and Mumbai respectively. So the place of supply from for New Delhi to Mumbai is New Delhi, and from Mumbai to New Delhi, the place of supply is Mumbai itself. Ms. Hemlata, hope I have answered your question. So that is not one journey, it is treated as two separate journeys, and as per our provisions, the place of supply will be the place where the journey is beginning. Okay, अभी ठीक है? Thank you. Okay, so everybody are clear with place of supply for goods. So then we started with place of supply of services. So place of supply of services, we finished half of it. So let's recapitulate that portion, then take your questions on place of supply for services. In case of place of supply for services, there are various pointers, which is beginning with location of service provider, location of service receiver, the place of performance, the place of consumption, the actual beneficiary's place, or the person who is utilizing the benefit could be somebody else, and the person who is paying could be somebody else. Okay, like in case of a training or a company is done, payment is made by the company, but the training is actually not given to the company but the employees of the company. So in such case, the actual consumption is to the employees. So where this actual consumption happens, that is the place of supply. That's why we'll see that in a case of a training, the place of supply will be to the company. So wherever the company is located, that becomes the place of supply. So in services, it is essential that each of these services are decided independently, so that what happens is the place of supply should be in such a way that the benefit goes to the company who can take the credit. But there are some other services where they can't get the credit and it is fixed at a separate place, like an immovable property service, hotel services, okay, site services. The place of supply for that cannot be anywhere different from where that site is located. Okay, so that's why specific rules are given in section 12 to decide where is the place of supply. Now, location of recipient of services we use at various point of time. So that's why it becomes important to understand the definition of location of recipient of services, where the supply is received at a place of business for which registration is obtained. Then the location of such place of business will be the location of recipient, where the supply is received at a fixed establishment elsewhere, wherein apart from registration, if they have any other establishment and the service is consumed at that location, then the location of such fixed establishment becomes the location of the recipient. And if they have more than one establishment, whether place of business is one place and fixed establishment is elsewhere, the location of the establishment which is most directly concerned with the supply will be decided as the location of recipient of services. And in absence of such places wherein a person is not registered and he does not have a fixed establishment, then the location of recipient of services will be the usual place of residence where he resides. Okay, now we'll start with few of them where we started, where the place of supply is. This is a general rule. We discussed that general rule will come after deciding rule 12 to rule 12.3 to 12.14. So we started with 12.3. 12.3 says services in relation to immovable property, where the service is in relation to an immovable property. The location of immovable property is in India. The place of supply will be the location of where that immovable property or boat or vessel is located. And where the location of immovable property is outside India, but the location of supplier and location of recipient is in India, then the place of supply will be the location of recipient. Okay. And we have discussed what are the various services which gets covered under this, all the plethora of services we have discussed. Then services in relation to immovable property where there are more than one places, then what is the ratio? What is the basis to allocate will be the where an immovable property is located in more than one state, then proportion to the value of services is determined in terms of a contract. But if the contract is silent, then what happens? You will decide saying that if there is a composite price. There is one price charged for multiple locations. Then the number of nights you stay in each location in each of those states will be the deciding factor. For accommodation in immovable property or organizing events will be the area of immovable property lying in each state. It could be for organizing events or lodging where property is located in two contiguous states, or lodging in a houseboat or vessel. Time spent on each vessel is relevant. Another example, another rule is for restaurant and catering services, personal grooming. There, the services, the place of service will be the service, the place where it is actually performed. Okay. So, any questions here? Yeah, many questions I could see. Employee under training period will be covered under subsection 12. Yeah. So if he employees under training, then he's a normal employee. There's no service as such. So an employee under training period also is getting salary. So he is not getting any service as such. So he will be out of GST because salary is outside GST. What we were discussing is for the training company to provide training to the employees of the company, that we have a specific clause. Please explain who is a recipient under section 12 subsection 8. 12.8 is transportation of goods including mail or courier. So if you're transporting any goods or using any courier services, the service provider is the transport company or the courier company. And the receiver is the one who avails the services. Like in GTA, we have discussed on GTA reverse charge is there, right? We have discussed who is the receiver. You are all aware of that thing, right? Or you want me to discuss that again? Yeah, many people are asking who is the recipient in case of a GTA. So in case of a GTA, the person who makes payment to the GTA, he is the recipient. Okay. So in our example of movement of goods from Maharashtra to Karnataka, that slide which we had seen, the goods are moving from Karnataka to from Maharashtra to Karnataka through the lorry. Now lorry person says that I will move the goods, but you make the payment. So in that case, if Maharashtra, the supplier makes the payment, he is the recipient. Okay. And if the transporter agrees that, okay, I will deliver and then collect the amount from the receiver, then Karnataka pays the amount to the GTA, then Karnataka is the recipient. So in case of GTA, the recipient is the person who makes payment to the lorry people. And even in case of courier services, when I make payment to the courier guys, I am receiving the service, right? That please deliver this goods to a certain place. So the courier company will take instructions from me. He will take the address of delivery and then he will supply it. So in that case, I am the receiver of that service from the courier company. So the person who makes payment or who orders the movement of goods is the, for a courier company, is the recipient. For a GTA, the person who makes payment to the GTA is the recipient. So in many cases, I've noticed that if the recipient is a registered person, which is the location of recipient, Is there any specific reason? No. The law in its own wisdom has decided that some services, the credit has to go to the recipient. That's why they have said that it is the location of recipient. How GST is a consumption-based tax? The taxes goes to those respective states by way of place of supply. So once we decide the place of supply, the taxes will flow to that state. Now take an example of a training service. I am in Karnataka. I am providing training to a company who is in Mumbai. So even though I'm providing training from Karnataka, the benefit is to the Mumbai company because they have appointed me as a trainer. The benefit is to the Mumbai company. So whether I provide in Mumbai or in any other state, the receiver, the beneficiary is the company itself. So the taxes has to go to Mumbai. So when I charge GST, I will mention that it is a IGST transaction. And when I say it's an IGST transaction, I will also have to mention the state to which this IGST belongs to. So when I mention the GST number of Mumbai, the taxes flows from Karnataka to Mumbai. That's how the taxes goes to Mumbai state. Okay, that's how it is called as a consumption-based tax. Can you make clear about the goods supplied on board or conveyance? उसमें प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई जहां जर्नी ओरिजिनेट होती है वो कंसिडर होता है जहां पर आप गुड्स बोर्ड करते हो. जैसे एक ट्रेन का सफर है फ्रॉम कर्नाटका टू आंध्र प्रदेश, रास्ते में तमिलनाडु भी आता है. सो द ट्रेन का जर्नी स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम कर्नाटका हैदराबाद, कर्नाटका तमिलनाडु फिर हैदराबाद जाता है. सो रास्ते में दे हैव ऑनबोर्डेड सम फूड आइटम्स इन तमिलनाडु. Okay, so the place of supply will not be Karnataka, it will be where it is onboarded. The goods are onboarded in Tamil Nadu, so the place of supply will be Tamil Nadu. Yeah, you can attend today's class also, Tanishka. You will understand because my recapitulation will help you to understand. Please explain meaning of two contiguous states. Two contiguous states means which states have a same common border. Okay, and you can't distinguish between those states because it is in border states. They are called as contiguous states. If an NRI is eating food in restaurant of Mumbai, then what is the GST? So you tell me. That's a good case study to understand what we have discussed yesterday and what we are discussing today also. So based on the explanation of place of supply, you tell me if this is a good question posed by one of the students. If an NRI comes to India, he is eating food in a restaurant in Mumbai, then what GST will you charge? Place of supply and what GST you charge, that also you mentioned. Will you charge CGST, HGST or IGST? Gunjan, this is your question. You also answer. What do you think is the answer? If a NRI comes to India, is eating a food in a restaurant in Mumbai, what do you think you will be charging if you are the restaurant owner? Good. Almost everyone has given a correct answer that the place of supply is Mumbai. Okay. The location of supplier is also in Mumbai because he is registered in Mumbai. The restaurant owner is registered in Mumbai and place of supply is also in Mumbai. So you will charge CGST and SGST because for restaurant services, nowhere it is mentioned that you provide it to a registered person. The place of supply will be the place where the registration is taken, that is not mentioned. So we will go to the general rule. And before we discuss general rule, everybody is given a correct answer saying that the place of supply is where the recipient is coming in. So since the place of supply for restaurant is in Mumbai itself, you will, because we have a specific register category here, which is restaurant and catering services. The place of supply of restaurant and catering services shall be the location where such services is actually performed, where you are delivering the food. At a restaurant, you are delivering at the restaurant itself. So the place of supply is that state itself. You will charge CGST and SGST. So for transportation of goods to outside India, good. So this we saw that there is an exception where you have a transportation of goods outside India. Okay. Transportation of goods. If the goods are transported outside India, the destination of such goods is the place of supply. So if you are having multiple destinations outside India, so the question of Harish is goods transported to outside India for different destinations, then what is the supply? So even if it is multiple destination, all of these destinations are outside India, correct? So in that case, all my destinations outside India, anywhere in multiple destinations outside India, that destination is the place of supply. Now I don't have to mention specific country because anywhere outside India, I know it is outside India, so the place of supply will be outside India itself. So I don't have to mention the specific country. It is outside India, so it's an export transaction. In bill to ship to transaction, GST will not go to the consumption state, right? It will go indirectly because when I sell to you and you say deliver it to some other state, the state GST is not going to that state directly. But once I bill to this person who has placed the order, it goes there. From there, he will bill to the person to whom it is delivered. So it is ultimately going to the consumption state through a two route process. I will bill to him and he will bill to the consumption state. Normally, for me, he's a common man. He will charge CGST, SGST, right? Because his designation as an NRI or resident is not there. Because specifically in 12.4, they have not mentioned whether he's a registered person or unregistered person. So the lawmakers also have seen those situations, saying that when the restaurant person, anybody comes, unless he wants to claim a credit, he will not give his GST number. And another reason why they don't give their GST number is because they will not claim the credit, because on restaurant services, hotel services, we can't claim the credit. So also he will not ask you to mention his GST number there. Suppose the goods are handed over in Mumbai for delivery to Delhi, then place of supply will be Mumbai, correct? If a person orders food online from Jharkhand to restaurant in Bihar, yeah, that's possible because of these modern technologies now. right? That the food are moving from one state to another state, then the location of supplier is Jharkhand, place of supply is Bihar. The place of supply is Bihar and location of supplier is in Jharkhand, two different states. So IGST will be applicable. So if immovable property is outside India, Ms. Neha, we have covered this in 12.1. Okay, where exactly your question is given, where the location of immovable property is outside India. So the place of supply will not become outside India. Very clear? Because the location of supplier and location of recipient is in India. The 12 comes in itself where the location of supplier and location of recipient is in India. So if you have a property outside India for which you are doing architectural services, the architect is in India and you are also in India, only your property is outside India. So the place of supply will be the location of the recipient. Where you are located, that will be the place of supply. So architect is in say Kolkata and you are in Mumbai. So and the property is in Australia. So the Kolkata architect will charge you the GST for the services in Australia and he will charge IGST because you are both in two different states. Bill to ship to transaction, we have to apply both intrastate and interstate? No. We have to apply one tax. Okay, there are two transactions in a bill to ship to transaction. To whom I am billing, that will be the first primary supply. Okay, so to whom I am billing, if we both are in same state, I will charge CGST, SGST. If we both are in different state, I will charge IGST. So can you explain lodging accommodation by a houseboat or vessel? So where I take a lodging accommodation, say in a houseboat, okay, and this houseboat is in Kerala, right? When I am taking a houseboat in Kerala, I am registered in say Himachal Pradesh. From Himachal Pradesh, I come and get all my employees and tell them that we will have a offsite in Kerala. So the location of supplier is in Kerala itself because the boat company is in Kerala. The place of supply for a immovable property is where this houseboat is located. This houseboat is located in Kerala. So place of supply will be Kerala. Now, when the houseboat is there, overnight they moved this houseboat from Kerala to the borders of Tamil Nadu also. They said we'll have a long trip. So when they had a long trip, the Tamil Nadu government said that we saw some boat coming in the night and they went back. Since they were in my state, you have to pay GST in my state also. So in that case, the clarification has come that where the houseboat is moving in two different states. If it is in one state, then the place of supply is Kerala. The Kerala boat company will charge CGST, SGST. But if it is in Tamil Nadu, then they will have to calculate number of hours it was in Tamil Nadu and number of hours it was in Kerala. Then the place of supply will be to the extent it was in Kerala, CGST, SGST, the extent it was in Tamil Nadu, IGST. If we travel from Mumbai to Hyderabad and there is a layover at Delhi and it is a continuous supply, and since it is your booked a ticket from Mumbai to Hyderabad, and in between if there's a layout, it is still a continuous supply because for certain period of time if you're staying, then that will not break the journey. It is still a continuous journey. Okay, 12.7 sponsorship. 12.7 sponsorship. Yeah, right. We can continue from here on 12.7 because we discussed yesterday till 12.6 and 12.7. So I'll explain from 12.7 and we'll continue. All your questions you could take up, you could still post. I will take up at the end of the session or somewhere in between when we are breaking up. Services by way of admission to event, this is for the entry ticket. So whatever entry ticket charges are there on that, this 12.6 will apply. So where that event is held, okay, that place will be the place of supply. So if you are having a famous singer who's coming in and he's performing in Mumbai, okay, I am a event organizer. I am in Karnataka. Now the singer is in Delhi. Now the event is being held in Mumbai. Now I collect entry charges for it. When I collect entry charges, the event is held in Mumbai. So the place of supply is the place where the event is actually held. So the event is actually held in Mumbai. So the place of supply is Mumbai. Okay. So if I am in Karnataka, so I have to give invoices to these people who are doing the entry. So I will charge IGST and mention the place of supply will be Mumbai. Organizing of events or assigning of sponsorship to such events. If I am organizing some events and this event I'm organizing for a company because the company wants to, there could be multiple things. Now, when I have a single event for one company, so the recipient is that single company. Now there could be a big exhibition where there are multiple companies and I am organizer for this event and I am being called upon by the main company which is getting sponsorship or getting collection from these various stalls. So my receiver is the main company who is holding the event and I am only arranging the event. So in that case, place of supply from my service point of view is deemed to be each of the respective state or union territory in proportion to the value of services determined in terms of the contract entered. So if I'm having this in one state, then the place of supply is that state. If I'm having multiple states events, then the place of supply will be the respective states which is decided as per the contract. In case there is no contract, okay, if there is no contract, then what is the generally accepted accounting principles which says that what will be the allocation for each of these states that I will consider. So if the general accounting principle says that this has to be based on number of visitors, or it says that proportionately for each state, or basis the number of days in the each of these city, then that will be the place of supply. So what your gap accounting says, that will be the place of supply. So this is when I am supplying it to a registered recipient. Okay, so if the recipient is registered, even if the event is organized some other state, then the location of the recipient will be the place of supply. Okay, so where the location of the recipient is registered, where the recipient is registered, and I'm organizing an event in another state, like in this example of I am having an event, I'm a management in Karnataka, event is in Mumbai, and the recipient is in Delhi. So the place of supply is Delhi because I'm into the event of organizing event for this company. So the place of supply is the location of the recipient, which is Delhi. Okay, or again outside India where the recipient is unregistered. If the event is in India, because if he's unregistered, we'll have to see the situs. So the situs is when the event is in India, the location where the event is held is the place of supply. So my first example, what I've given, that the place where it is supplied, that will be the location that applies where the recipient is unregistered and event is in India. If the event is outside India, it will not become export because the place of supply applying the first rule is where the event is organized. But it says that it carves an exception saying that when the recipient is unregistered and your event is outside India, the place of supply is the location of the recipient and not where the event is held. Even where it is provided to a registered person also, it is not where the event is held, it is where the location of recipient is mentioned. Okay. Now, in case of 12.8, 12.8 is transportation of goods. This we have discussed, where the location of is the location of such person, where I'm providing to a registered person. If I'm providing to an unregistered person, the place of supply is the location at which such goods are handed over for their transport. Where you hand over the goods for transportation from Mumbai to Delhi, I have to move the goods. I hand over the goods at Mumbai. The place of supply is Mumbai. And then 12.9 is in case of a passenger transport services. Passenger transportation is moving passengers from one place to another. So train tickets, then bus tickets, flight tickets, all of this is examples of passenger transportation services. If the recipient is registered to move from, say, Rajasthan to Gujarat, but you are registered in Karnataka, and for your business trip, you're going from Rajasthan to Ahmedabad. The place of supply is neither of these states. Since you are registered, the location where you are registered, that will become the place of supply. So each service, the place of supply is different. In case of a passenger transport services, location of recipient is the place of supply. If the recipient is not registered, then the location where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey, where he boards this conveyance, okay, where he embarks, passenger embarks, where he begins the journey, is the place of supply. And in case of a continuous journey also, we have seen if it's a what is journey on Rajasthan to Ahmedabad. He stayed in Ahmedabad for one day, then from Ahmedabad he's gone to Mumbai. So in that case, there is a supply, and if there is a right of issue of right to passage for future use, and the point of boarding is not known at the time of issue of right of passage. Okay, so at the time of giving a boarding pass, or kind of not a boarding pass, a kind of ticket, issue of right to passage, where you are getting a right to move. So an airline company gives 10 vouchers saying that you take this 10 vouchers for a lower price. You can travel from any state within South India.
Recording in progress.
I hope there's no video log now. Okay, we are discussing 12.9 itself. So what we were trying to say is, in case of 12.9, if it is a registered person, it is the location of recipient. And if it is a unregistered person, the location where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for his journey. Okay, that is the place of supply. And in case of issuing a voucher, say 10 vouchers have been issued by a flight company saying that you can travel anywhere which where the distance of kilometer is not more than say 1,000 kilometers, and this voucher is valid. So there we do not know what is the place of supply.
Recording in progress.
Just 1 minute. Looks like there is some technical issue. Is it better now? प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है कुछ तो हेलो हिमा इज ओके ठीक है मैं देखता हूँ क्योंकि क्वेरीज बहुत सारे okay. So we were discussing on 12.9 saying that what happens in case of a passenger transport service. If the recipient is registered, then the location of recipient is the place of supply. And where recipient is unregistered, then the location where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey, that is the place of supply. And in respect of issuance of a right to passage for future use, wherein you're getting a fixed amount. Okay, you're getting a fixed tickets, which you can use after some point of time. Okay, where you can use it after some point of time. Okay. Now you can use something called as a vouchers for future use. Then the place of supply will be if the address of the unregistered person is available in the records, then the location of such unregistered person. In all other cases where the address is not available, the location of supplier of service itself will be the place of supply. Okay, so the location of the recipient if the address is available. If address is not available, then the location of supplier itself is the place of supply. Right of issue of right to passage for future use and point of boarding not known at the time of issue of right to passage means at the time of issue of right to passage for future use and point of boarding not known at the time of issue. That is, at the time of when you're issuing this, you don't know that where the person will board because it's a open ticket kind of a thing, wherein you can use it for flying from one place to another place. So where you will board it, that is not known at the time when I give these vouchers. So the place of supply will be decided when you onboard a journey. Then services supplied on board a conveyance. This is a case where I am providing some services on board a conveyance. In that case, location of the first scheduled point of departure. See, in case of passenger transport service, they have not used the word first scheduled point of departure. It means the place of supply is not where the journey begins of that conveyance. But in this case, they have specifically said that location of the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance will be the place of supply, which means the flight example that it flew from Mumbai to Delhi, and in between there was a stopover in Hyderabad. So the flight came from Mumbai, stopped at Delhi, and Delhi, there were some passengers who boarded the flight. And in Hyderabad, sorry, from Mumbai to Hyderabad, in Hyderabad, there were some passengers who onboarded, and then the flight reached Delhi. In between, for the passengers who onboarded the flight in Hyderabad, they gave some online services. Okay, they gave some services of music. So people have to pay some 100 rupees, and music used to get downloaded. So for these people who are in onboarded in Hyderabad, now they paid something and got some service. So what is the place of supply for these passengers who onboarded the flight at Hyderabad? Yes, Rupali, I will provide these notes on the BOS app. So my question is, Nistala, that there is a flight which is starting from Mumbai and it is reaching to New Delhi. There are some passengers who have onboarded the flight at Mumbai, and the flight did not reach Delhi directly. The flight had a stopover at Hyderabad, and at Hyderabad also there were some passengers who onboarded the flight, right? And while they onboarded the flight, they were again started their journey from Hyderabad to Delhi. While they were going from Hyderabad to Delhi, there was some music service available that if you want to listen to some music, then you have to download, pay some 500 rupees. So one customer who onboarded at Hyderabad, he paid 500 and took the service while the flight was in between at Bihar. Okay, so I'm asking what is the place of supply for this music service? Mr. Manish, good question that whether 1210 applies in example you gave yesterday. It will not apply to my example because there the location of supplier is already where I have registered. So it is generally on board a conveyance will be conveyance which is provided by the conveyance giver itself. Okay, conveyance will be services supplied on board a conveyance will be the services which is provided by the conveyance keeper itself. Okay, so many people are confused, or at least the crowd, because people are saying that Hyderabad is the answer, and few people are saying it is Mumbai. So we had read this, we will read this again. In case of services supplied on board a conveyance, the place of supply is the location of the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance for the journey. In our case, even though people have boarded in Hyderabad, the flight knows that which was its first scheduled point of departure. The first scheduled point of departure was Mumbai, so the place of supply will be Mumbai. Okay, it will not be Hyderabad. It will not based on where I board the flight. So that was relevant in case of a passenger transport service. Now, passenger transport service, the place of supply is Mumbai, is Hyderabad. For Hyderabad on borders, that is fine. Now we are talking of a different service. We are talking of music services, which is on board a conveyance. Then for that, 1210 specifically says that location of the first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance is the place of supply. Okay, so be careful. Between the same flight, there are two kinds of services. One is the passenger transport services, and another one is the services on board a conveyance. Where music service is taken? Music service is taken while the flight was in the air. What is the first scheduled point of departure? First scheduled point of departure is the what is the scheduled place where the journey begins from? That is the first scheduled point of departure. Vijay Raghavan, at the place where he paid for availing the service, that cannot be the place of supply, because where he paid, now that time the flight was flying in the sky. Which state it was crossing, we don't know. So since services are so very sensitive that we cannot decide, that's why the place of supply says go to the scheduled departure point. From there, you will calculate the place of supply. We do not know where the passenger is boarded the flight. Flight company, they are providing the service, they will know. So they don't have to know actually also that where the passenger is boarded, because the place of supply will be the first scheduled point of departure itself. Okay, clear till now? Easy to understand? Now this is different from the goods supplied on board. Now I want to make a distinction here, because in 10.1e, where we discussed location, place of supply for movement of goods. For goods are supplied on board a conveyance, the place of supply was location at which the goods are taken on board. Okay, if the goods it is different, for service it's different. Same example, very good example to understand where I am moving the flight from Mumbai on stoppage at Hyderabad and then to Delhi. So when the flight landed at Hyderabad, I loaded food in this on the thing on the flight. Now for the food services, it is a goods. So for delivering the goods, for selling those goods, okay, or take some products I bought in, wherein I sold some merchandises like some uh, soft toys were sold to the passengers on board. Now those goods were brought at Hyderabad and they were loaded at Hyderabad station. So the point of supply for these goods will not be Mumbai. It will be. It is not same as goods. Bhavika, that's okay. 12.10 if I have to explain if in Hindi. तो जब कोई सर्विस प्रोवाइड करता है कन्वेंस में, कन्वेंस का मतलब कुछ भी सफर में, जैसे ट्रेन का सफर हो सकता है, फ्लाइट का सफर हो सकता है, वेजल का सफर हो सकता है, वेजल मतलब शिप का सफर हो सकता है, कुछ भी। जब इस सफर में आपको कुछ सर्विस अवेल करनी है, ठीक है। जैसे मैं एक अलग एग्जांपल लेता हूं, आपने एक क्रूज में सफर किया है। जब आप क्रूज में जा रहे हो, आप बोर्ड कर रहे हो जैसे विशाखापट्टनम से, जनरली कोस्टल लोकेशन से होता है दैट यू बोर्ड अ शिप। शिप आपकी शुरू होती है विशाखापट्टनम से, केरला से, और ये शिप जाती है मुंबई तक। तो विशाखापट्टनम ने आपसे बोर्ड किया और पहुंचे आप मुंबई। रास्ते में आपने मूवी डाउनलोड की, क्योंकि वहां पे नेटफ्लिक्स नहीं चलता है, वहां पे शिप का ही इंडिविजुअल प्राइजेस पे करके आपको मूवी डाउनलोड करना है। तो आपने मूवी डाउनलोड कर दी, पैसे उन्होंने शिप वाले कंपनी ने ले लिए। तो अब क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि आपने जो ये मूवी का डाउनलोड का सब्सक्रिप्शन खरीदा है, उसके ऊपर शिप कंपनी जो है वो आपको क्या चार्ज करेगी, तो उसका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई क्या होगा। तो अगर ये शिप जा रही है विशाखापट्टनम, कर्नाटका क्रॉस करके, गोवा क्रॉस करके मुंबई जा रही है, आप कहाँ पे डाउनलोड करोगे इसका कोई कैलकुलेशन नहीं कर सकता है। तो इसीलिए प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई 12 बोलता है द लोकेशन ऑफ द तो फिर प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई हो जाएगा विशाखापट्टनम। दैट इज रेलेवेंस ऑफ, ओके, सो द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी द प्लेस which is विशाखापट्टनम। What if the place coming USA and Mumbai of supply? So for that we have section 13, where the USA flight is, the location of it will be section 13. Sir, फिर
Recording in progress.
हाँ, वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है करके बोल रहे हैं और बहुत लैग। Okay, is it better now? Okay. और स्लाइड भी क्लियरली विजिबल नहीं है, आप थोड़ा स्लाइड को देख लीजिए। स्लाइड तो मैंने पूरा प्रेजेंट किया है। ओके, ठीक है, फाइन, स्टार्ट। So in 12.9 we understood and 12.10 we understood where there is a distinction between services supplied on board a conveyance and goods supplied on board a conveyance. So there is a distinction there. Okay. Now the important thing to note is every other subsection we have seen that there is a distinction between registered and unregistered person. But in case of 12.10, that is services supplied on board a conveyance, there is no distinction made between a registered and unregistered person. Okay, so 1210 is uniform for both when you supply anything on board a conveyance to a registered person or an unregistered person. Then 1211 is on telecommunication service. So there could be various kinds of telecommunication services. When we say telecommunication service, the mode of telecommunication service are ample these days. So many much. Okay. So 1211 says telecommunication services, which means that various modes of telecommunication services is possible. Now, if it's a fixed communication line or a leased circuit or internet leased line or cable or a dish antenna. So basically where it involves a wired telecommunication service. मतलब fixed communication line हो गया जैसे आपका landline phone, leased circuits जैसे आप leased circuits involve that you get a wire laid down specifically for you, and internet leased lines or a cable or dish antenna. In such cases, the location will be the location where such telecommunication line, leased cable, or cable connection or dish antenna is installed. So, very clearly understandable where this dish antenna is there and where this telecommunication line is there, that is the place of supply. So, take an example to understand this. Airtel is in Mumbai, Airtel registered office is in Mumbai, and you want a fixed line in your state in Telangana. So when you want it in Telangana, from Mumbai, it has to decide what is the place of supply. Now, if you're taking a landline connection at your home in Telangana, Telangana is the place of supply. From Mumbai to Telangana, they will raise a invoice for IGST. Because again, we said consumption-based tax. So the consumption is happening in Telangana. So Mumbai cannot charge CGST, SGST uniformly. They have to charge IGST, and place of supply will be Telangana. Okay. So location where the telecom district line, similarly where a dish TV is installed, where it is installed, that will be the place of supply. Now move to postpaid mobile connection and internet services. So postpaid services wherein location of the, when you take a postpaid services, you get a bill, or it could be a postpaid internet service also, you get a bill. So the internet company has your billing address. Even though it may not give you a physical bill, it may give you an online bill, but still billing address is mentioned over there, right? So the location of billing address of the recipient, which is available in records of the supplier. If the location of supplier service, if the address is not available, then it goes back to the location of supplier of service. That will become the place of supply. Clear? Where it is a fixed communication, where it is installed, where it's a postpaid bill, where address is available, that is a place of supply. If address is not available, the location of supplier itself will become the place of supply. Then in case of prepaid mobile connection, internet service and DTH services, now how do you get this prepaid? You will go to a recharge shop and get the recharge done. So it could be through a recharge coupon, vouchers or net pack, anything where services are provided through a direct selling agent or reseller or distributor of subscriber identity module card to recharge voucher. So these are the various ways prepaid mobile, prepaid DTH, and a lot of prepaid services are provided. So in such case, what do we do? What will be the place of supply? It is okay. Great. In case of postpaid services, it's also possible there is a branch of Airtel in Telangana. Then also IGST, no. If the branch is in Telangana, then the location of supplier is Telangana. Then from Telangana, they will bill CGST, SGST. So from where the location of supplier, as we have said, how we have location of recipient, there similarly we have location of supplier. So if the location of supplier, they want to register there in Mumbai, want to have one registration, the location of supplier is Mumbai. If they are registering here saying that we want to have branch wise control, then the location of supplier is Telangana. Where they register, that will be the location of supplier. Okay, so in this case of prepaid recharges, prepaid mobile services, the address of the selling agent or reseller or distributor at the time of supply. So it is not where I am coming from, because we know in prepaid services, we generally don't collect any details of the recipient. We just take the mobile number and do the recharge. So the address of this selling agent, reseller, or distribution at the time of supply will become the place of supply. Second, next is services provided by any person to final subscriber. Location where such prepayment is received or such vouchers are sold. So services provided by any person to a final subscriber where you're giving a voucher is where they receive this payment, that will become the place of supply. Then prepaid services, the payment for which is made through internet banking, wherein online we purchase now through lot of this Paytm and things we purchase. Then the location of recipient of services in the records of the supplier of services. Generally, Paytm will ask you to fill your profile and things like that. So they will be having the details of your address. So what address you have given, that will be the address which is available to them. In the same case of prepaid, where we saw that location of agent was relevant, where it was an offline mode. But when you make the payment online, you make it through internet banking or any other electronic modes, the location of recipient of service is the place of supply. And in all any other cases of selling the telecommunication, the address of the recipient as per the records of the supplier of services. And if the address is not available, the location of supplier itself will become the location of the place of supply. So on this telecommunication, you have lot of examples which you can go through the material, you will understand this. But I am trying to give you a understanding wherein the examples will automatically be understandable. So we have understood the scenario. We don't have to go to the examples. Examples is for those cases where you don't understand this. So from my explanation, I'm sure you would have understood this. Then now let's move to the next service, which is financial and stockbroking services. So any financial services or stockbroking services which is provided, financial services could be a banking company services also. Okay, so where the recipient's details are available in records, then the location of recipient. So when you're providing a banking services, you will have the bank details, and you will, when you're doing a stockbroking, you will do a KYC of your customer. So you will have all those details for sure, right? So that's why you have the details of the recipient. Since you have the address of the recipient, the place of supply is where the actual address is available. So where the recipient is located, that will be the place of supply. And in case if the location of recipient is not available, so this is saying that nothing should be left out. So that's why the saying where the location of recipient is not available, then what do? It will be the place of supply. It will be the location of the supplier of service itself. So later on, you cannot complain that you have charged wrong thing and things like that. So to avoid that, they're saying that where the location of supplier is there, that itself will become the place of supply. Next is the insurance services. When you provide insurance services to a, now there is subtle difference between 1212 and 1213. When it is here, it is not based on whether the recipient is registered or unregistered. It is dependent on the location of the recipient, whether the recipient's address is available or no. Whether is unregistered or unregistered doesn't matter. But 1213 is specifically on insurance services. In insurance services, they say when it is provided to a registered person, you can provide it anywhere. You can provide it for any insurance services. So if it's a fire insurance for a building which is somewhere else, still it is a insurance services when it is provided to a registered person, location of the recipient. And if it is for provided to an unregistered person, the location of recipient of services in the records of the supplier of service. So in case of a registered person, you can register for anything else, but you will get your GST credit because the input credit is dependent on the location of the recipient. What do you mean by such prepayment? In this case, we had discussed that in case of such prepayment, service is provided to any person to final subscriber. So you are a subscriber of say OTT channel, that is also a telecommunication services. Location where such prepayment is received are such vouchers are sold. Okay, if you're buying a voucher and you're making a payment because you will use the service later on, you buy a prepaid card or you make a prepayment for the voucher which will be used for next 1 month. So where you make this prepayment, that will become the place of supply. Okay, so before we discuss 1214, which is advertisement services, let's take a break of 10 minutes. Until then, if you have any questions on the place of supply of services, what you have discussed, please throw up and we will come back at 7:30. So we were discussing on 1213 on insurance services. Now let's move that 1212 and 1213, we have to make a distinction where 1213 is on insurance services. When insurance services are provided to a registered person, it is the location of the recipient. And in case it is provided to an unregistered person, then it is the location of recipient in the records of the supplier. Now, last service for categorization is 1214, which is advertisement service to the government. So when you provide advertisement services involving dissemination of material supplied to the government or a statutory body, it will be the location of such dissemination, which means distribution. Dissemination can be understood as distribution, where the advertisement service involves distribution of the material supplied to the government or a statutory body. Then it will be the location of the distribution. Where it is identifiable to a specific state, then that would be the place of supply. Where it is disseminated over multiple states, various states, in each of such states where the advertisement is broadcasted, where the advertisement is run, where it is played, or where it is disseminated, that proportionate will take. Because government advertisements doesn't run, say, if it's the central government's advertisement of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So they will not do it in only one state. They'll do it in all the states. These are mostly, say, some south states. And for north, there will be a different contract. So when they distribute it for south states, the place of supply for that advertisement company, when he is raising an invoice to the government, he can't raise it only in one state because the advertisement is visible in all the states. So the place of supply will be the place where it involves, where it is disseminated. So if this advertisement is on the child welfare is provided in on buses of all the states, then there'll be a different method saying how many buses are applied. Or if it is there on a TV advertisement or a newspaper advertisement, so how much is the circulation of that newspaper, that will decide. So the details of each type of this advertisement is provided in Rule 3. I'll just share the summary of Rule 3, what I've mentioned. Manner of determining proportionate value, where advertisement is in newspapers and publications, amount payable for publishing an advertisement in all the editions of newspaper which are published in each state, that will be the basis. On how many newspapers, that will be each newspaper company, how much you're paying. If it is advertisement through any kind of a pamphlets or leaflets, then amount payable for the distribution of specific numbers. So since you have number saying that for each pamphlet, this much is the value. So when it is specifically identified that specific basis, if it is on trains, then amount attributable to each state calculated in ratio of length of the railway track. So if they are marketing it on a railway bogie, okay, on the trains, if there is an advertisement, then what is the ratio of the length of the railway track in each of those state will be the places. So for each basis, Rule 3 gives us the basis. If it's on radio stations, what is the amount payable to such radio station? So where it is, say, railway ticket, then the amount attributable to each state or union territory calculated in the ratio of number of railway stations. So each type of advertisement has a basis. So we'll have to just understand this basis and see how it is distributed. If it is in cinema theaters, amount payable to a cinema hall or screens in a multiplex in each state or union territory. So for each cinema hall, how much they charge, that will be the basis. Where a specific charge is mentioned, then we'll go to the specific charge. If there is no specific charge, then we will go to the proportionate basis, what is given in the rule. So that is on advertisement services, right? So from here, what we understand is from 12 to 12.3 to 12.14, we have understood. Now 12.2 to 12.14 is a specific rule. So if what we said when we started on yesterday, that you have to go to the specific rule. If the nature of service is one of these falling under 12.3 to 12.14, yes, then we will apply that specific rule. If no, any other service like a chartered accountant service, a software service is not specifically mentioned under 12.3 to 12.14. So then we will come back to the general rule, which is rule 12.2. What does 12.2 say? Where you are supplying it to a registered person, then the location of the rule provides that the place of supply of services made to a registered person is the location of the person receiving the service. If you are providing anything, so a chartered accountant providing services of his audit services to a registered client, then the location of the person receiving the client. So if I am sitting in Karnataka doing audit service for a client in Mumbai, I don't travel to Mumbai, but still the benefit of the audit, he is getting it because his books are getting audited. So he is the receiver. So the location of the person receiving the service, Mumbai registered person, that is his location of the person who is receiving the service, that's Mumbai. Then I will charge IGST. And when I'm supplying it to an unregistered person, location of such unregistered person, if the address is available on record. So I know that there is some person who is given me address, I know his address. Then based on his address, I will decide the place of supply, and it will be the location of supplier itself in other cases where I do not have the address of the recipient. So this is the general rule. So if you are getting any question or any kind of service, you have to analyze whether it is falling under 12.3 to 12.14. Is it falling? Yes, it is falling. Then it will be covered under 12.3 to 12.14. Otherwise, it will go back to 12.2 general rule. General rule is simple. If you're providing service to a registered person, then the location of the recipient. If you're providing to an unregistered person, again, two categories. If you know the address, then the place of that address will be the place of supply. If it is not available, then the location of the supplier itself will become the place of supply. ठीक है? So 12.2 क्या कहता है? जब हम दरवाजा खोलेंगे, 12 के अंदर घुसेंगे, 12 के अंदर घुसने के बाद एक रूल चेक करेंगे कि हमको 12.2 के अंदर जाना है या नहीं जाना है. अगर 12.2 के अंदर जाना है तो फर्स्ट 12.2 बोलेगा. अब 12.3 से लेकर 12.14 जो हमने सर्विसेज डिस्कस किए हैं, उस सर्विसेज में आपकी कैटेगरी फॉल होती है या नहीं होती है. अगर स्पेसिफिकली 12.3 टू 12.14 में आपकी सर्विसेज है, तो आप वो जो रूल हमने बताया था उसको अप्लाई कीजिए. अप्लीकेबल होता है, अच्छी बात है, तो वो रेस्पेक्टिव रूल अप्लाई कीजिए. लेकिन अगर अप्लाई नहीं होता है, तब आप जनरल रूल आओगे. जनरल रूल आप शुरुआत में ही शुरू नहीं करोगे. आपको स्पेसिफिक 12.3 से लेकर 12.14 ओके, उसके अंदर देखना है कि जैसे रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस हो गया, तो आपको 12.2 के अंदर आने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस 12.4 के अंदर कवर्ड है, तो आप वहां पे जाओगे. लेकिन कुछ और सर्विसेज जैसे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट सर्विसेज, बहुत सारी सभी सर्विसेज जो है, कंसल्टेंट सर्विसेज, लॉयर सर्विसेज, वो सब 12.2 के अंदर आएगी, बिकॉज उसके लिए स्पेसिफिक सेक्शन नहीं है. तो इसके अंदर जब आओगे तो ये अंदर घुस लिए. अब आप घुसने के बाद आपको डिसाइड करना है कि आपको प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई क्या करना है. तो उसके लिए आपको दो फैक्टर अगेन चेक करना है कि जो रिसीवर ऑफ सर्विस है, जो सामने वाला है, वो रजिस्टर्ड है या अनरजिस्टर्ड है. अगर वो रजिस्टर्ड है तो वो कौन सी जगह पे रजिस्टर्ड है, वो आपका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई हो जाएगा. और अगर वो अनरजिस्टर्ड है, उसने रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं लिया, वो एंड कंज्यूमर है और उसका एड्रेस आपके पास है, तो वो जो एड्रेस है वो आपका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई हो जाएगा. और अगर उसका एड्रेस आपके पास नहीं है, आपने पैसे लेके छोड़ दिया, तो फिर आपका जो एड्रेस है वो ही प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई बन जाएगा. तो ये कहता है जनरल रूल. नाउ योर क्वेश्चंस. In 12.12, if a NRI takes any financial services, he can take, no problem. So because 12.12 is a generic rule, it is not dependent on the registration of the person. So if the recipient details are available on records of the supplier, so NRI, for NRI, will you get into 12 itself? You will not get, because the location of recipient is outside India. So when the location of supplier or location of recipient is outside India, 12 you will not enter at all. You will have to go to 13. Okay, good question, Manish, but out of syllabus for you because NRI is not a person who is resident in India, is resident outside India. 12 comes to our place where the location of supplier and the location of recipient both are India. Only then we'll go to section 12. If I get prepaid Wi-Fi connection, then the place of supply is my address irrespective of where I am registered or no. In case of a prepaid, so in case of prepaid, we have discussed, no, prepaid, it is very different. Where you pay online, then location of recipient on records. Where you buy a voucher, then the person who is selling the voucher, that address. Insurance services when it is provided to an unregistered person. So insurance services when it is provided to an unregistered person, the insurance company, when they give insurance, we cannot say that they don't have interest because they're giving insurance to somebody. They will take the KYC records, right? Because they have to settle the claim of the insuree. So they will take the records. So the location of the recipient of the services in the records of the supplier. So the register, the address of the recipient, the location of the recipient, matlab address of the recipient, which they have in the record, that is the place of supply. So insurance company is registered in Mumbai. Now from Mumbai, the anybody can take the insurance services. So a employee, he takes health services for his parents. He comes to Mumbai and he gives his address. Now he gives his residential address, which is in Bhopal. So the place of supply, even though he's taking the insurance policy in Mumbai, the place of supply is Bhopal itself, because that is the address of the recipient which the insurance company has. They will charge IGST for the insurance commission, insurance premium. Can we expect any direct questions from this ICAI module? Yes, why not? From this modules, you could expect some questions. Under 12.7, when event held in more than one state or UT, the provision is applicable only for the unregistered recipient. No, not necessary, because 12.7 says when you are supplying it to a registered person or unregistered person. Now, your question is under 12.7, when event is held in more than one state or UT, the provision is applicable only for unregistered recipient. Yeah, that's right. That's correct. Because when it is registered recipient, it will be always the location of recipient. Trains includes metros. No, yeah, even in metros, you could do advertisement. So the place of supply for trains and metros will be the same. So by the type of service you have to determine, because bases will not be given, they'll just mention this service. From this service, you have to locate which of these subsections is applicable. Even though you may not remember the subsections, that is fine. But remember the main section saying that as per section 12, if you remember the subsection, it's good. But the logic what you apply should be correct. Okay, dissemination means distribution. Even if I travel for that audit to Mumbai or here, still it is same, because it is 12.2 general clause. It is the location of the recipient will be the place of supply. Section 12.2 applies only to section 12.9 passenger transport service where the recipient is unregistered. No, 12.2 applies for all services which are not covered under this specific clauses. So 12.2 is not only for one service or two service, it is for all service other than 12.3 to 12.14. If you travel from Karnataka to Mumbai for audit work, what will be the charge? From Karnataka Mumbai, if I travel, it will still be IGST. I paid it online, so the place of supply will be my address, correct. What is the place of supply in case of 12.14? Okay, so 12.14 is a very detailed thing. 12.14 simply says when I'm doing an advertisement to the government, okay, and let's take a simple case, government of Karnataka, because it could be a central government or state government. Now, Karnataka government says that you do advertisement services on the schemes of the Karnataka government to the on the buses of the state of Karnataka. So I do advertisement all across state of Karnataka. So where is this getting displayed? It is displayed in Karnataka. So the place of supply is Karnataka. But why specific mention and detail in the rules comes in is because of the practicality that state government, okay, but central government will not advertisement in one state, it will advertisement say in three states. When they are advertising in state 1, 2, 3, the place of supply has to be decided because where it is disseminated, where it is distributed, where all I give this advertisement services, I give in these three states. So the place of supply is also these three states. So I'll have to decide on the various type of advertisement will it be. So if I give it in cinema theaters, each theater charges separately. It is not a fixed fees, right? So how much is the cinema theater of state A charging? That is the value of the advertisement for this state. And in state B, there are cinema theaters are charging less. So the value here will be less. In state C, the theaters are charging high. So that will be the value. So this is a specific service. Now, in terms of railways, I am telling that advertisement in a train which moves in these three states. So which is moving from one state to another state, then how do I allocate? They are set on the basis of kilometer of the tracks of that state that the railway department will have, saying that we have having a control of the track on this state, complete state, not only where it is running on the complete state itself. That we because physical measurement for every train is not available, overall measurement is available. So on the basis of measurement of the track in, say here it is 200 kilometers state A, 300 kilometers state B, and 400 kilometers in state C. So 2:3:4. This will be the ratio in which you will proportion the advertisement charges for advertisement on railways. If there is no invoice, then no GST. Why are charged GST while audit? While you're doing audit, will you not raise an invoice for audit? After completion of audit, you will raise an invoice for doing audit, right? So on that, what GST will charge is the question under discussion. Suppose government gave license to some third party to supply services on a train. Yes. So still it is advertisement. Government will give license to some third party to supply services on a train. Supply services on a train. If they provide any kind of services on a train, on board a service, right? So then it will be services supplied on board a conveyance. It will be 1210 itself. I've given you example for general rule, no, like chartered accountant services or any other services which is not there under specific thing. Lawyer services. Okay. All those services are under 12.2. Most of the services I would say will fall under 12.2 itself. In case of registered person, that means the place of supply is where it is registered. Correct. What if advertisement service to private individual? If the advertisement service is to a private individual, since there is no rule, but the rule of the dissemination says that where you are doing advertising in multiple states, at least that principle we can use it, because whether you provide services to government, because government is the one who provides multi-state, that's why they've said, but when you provide services of advertisement to a private company also, I believe that 1214 will still apply. Okay. With this understanding, if you have no more doubts, let's next topic. So in case 1213, there is no address and records of the supplier, records of supplier of an unregistered recipient. Then what will be the place of supply? So in case of 1213, insurance services, it's not possible that they don't have address of the recipient. They will have the address of the recipient. That's why they've specifically said the government also knows the practicality. That's why in 1212 they've said the location if the location of recipient is not available. But in 1213, it is not that we can apply a theoretical rule. So practically for insurance companies, they should be having the address of their clients. That's why the location of recipient will be available. What do you mean by dissemination? Distribution. Wherever the advertisements are distributed in the state, that is called dissemination. The right word of dissemination is spreading, wherever the advertisements are spread. Okay, so now let's get into the, can you please show sample question answer writing? Okay, we will have to take this in problem solving session because we have a specific session that time we'll have to discuss. Please explain example 34 in page 4.40. Yeah, so this is a good question wherein this is a practical scenario of a ticket which is being issued. So this is a question on 12.9, wherein passenger transport services, what happens? Let's take a question where we know that it's a passenger transport service where the location recipient is registered, then the location of recipient. If it is unregistered, location where the passenger embarks the conveyance. And if it is in case of issue of right to use of passage, then address of the registered person is available. Then that, if other cases, the location of supplier. This we have discussed under 12.9. So Mr. Subramaniam, who is unregistered person in Chennai, has come to Delhi on a vacation. Now he buys a prepaid Delhi Metro card for Delhi Metro. So this is a passenger transport service, right? Now he's bought a Delhi Metro card for hassle-free commute. Recipient being unregistered person, the place of supply is the address of Subramaniam, that is Chennai. If address of Mr. Subramaniam is not available in Delhi Metro. Now, if Delhi Metro collects his address, then fine. But generally for issuing card, they just take the money, they don't issue a card. Then the place of supply will be the location of supplier, that is New Delhi. Take this example of 34. This 33 first. An airline may issue seasonal tickets containing, say, 10 vouchers, which could be used for travel between any two locations in a country. This is the example of that second case. Now, the card issued by New Delhi Metro could be used by a person located in Noida or New Delhi or Faridabad without the New Delhi being able to distinguish the location or journeys at the time of receipt of payment. So these are examples of issue of right to passage for future use point of boarding, which is not known at the time of issue of right, right? Like I'm giving, which we have discussed this, right? Where I give 10 vouchers, but at that point of time, I don't know, right? So what happens for that when the journey is embarked, then if the address is unregistered person is available, then the location of the unregistered person. If they don't know, right, then the location of supplier or service itself, because they don't know at that point of time. And they've just issued vouchers to an unregistered person, because if it's a registered person, he would like to take the credit of it. So it will be the location of the recipient, but for an unregistered person, it will be the address of the unregistered person if you're taking the address. If you're not taking the address, it is the supplier's address itself. insurance agent commission is not specifically covered under any of this. Insurance service is covered. Insurance agent commission is not mentioned. So general rule 12.2. We can say if no invoice, then no GST. We cannot say so. If no invoice, no GST, then I will not raise any invoice and I'll keep providing services, collect money. So the notion that no invoice, no GST is wrong. No supply, no GST. Supply is there and you did not raise an invoice. Still, GST is payable because GST is not on invoice raising. GST is on supply. So if you make a supply, you forgot to raise an invoice, still GST is payable. Okay, let's move now to the question of interstate supply. We have discussed this, but there is a specific section. Now, since we know the place of supply, we know the location of supply, it becomes easy for us to understand what is an interstate supply and what is an intrastate supply. What is an interstate supply? Everybody knows this, where the, so for in case of supply, in case of both, where the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states or in two different union territories, then it is an interstate supply. Now, the various aspects is when there are two different states from state A to state B or between two different union territories. I said Puducherry and Daman and Diu are two different union territories. Not Puducherry because Puducherry is with legislation, though that will fall under the definition of state. Union territories with legislature is falling under the definition of state. Union territories without legislature, Daman and Diu and Ladakh are two union territories. So if I make any supply between Daman and Diu and Daman and Nagar Haveli and with Ladakh, then there's a transaction between two union territories, then it is still an interstate supply. So transaction could be between two different states or two UTs, or between one state and another UT, or between UT and another state. So three possibilities are there. In all of these three cases, I will charge IGST. Okay, and where the supply, okay, interstate supply section 7 specifically says that where I make a supply of goods when the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, it is interstate supply. Further, it states, very important, supply is in a taxable territory, but it is not an intrastate supply. That there is a supply between a taxable territory that is within India and not being an intrastate supply, and it is not specified elsewhere, then it will always be interstate supply. So this is a residuary clause saying that you're not able to determine the, you're not able to fit in under the intrastate supply, because opposite of this is an intrastate supply, wherein the location of supplier and place of supply are within the same state, then it is an intrastate supply. But if there is any difficulty in doing any of that calculation or determining where is the place of supply, then it will be an interstate supply. So it's a residuary clause saying that if nothing is falling in place, nothing is able to be determined, then it will be IGST transactions. Okay. Before this, let us understand that interstate transaction, we said import is also an interstate transaction, because section 7, one of the clauses says that where the supply of goods is within India, then it is between two states or two UTs, then it is an interstate supply. It also says for import of goods and services into India is also a interstate supply. So imports and exports are always interstate. Since that is not there for your syllabus, we have not put it in this slide. So imports and exports, the categorization of that is not examinable for your inter level. Okay, but that for your understanding, you should always know, like we had discussed in the first class, imports are always interstate. So this is interstate. Now intrastate, section 8 of the IGST says, 7 says interstate, section 8 says intrastate. What is an intrastate? Subject to the provisions of section 10, supply of goods where the location of the supplier and the place of supply are in the same state or in the same union territory, it shall be treated an intrastate supply. within the same union territory. Within Ladakh itself, they're saying from one Ladakh to another union territory. Since both are union territories, can we say it is an intrastate? No. From one union territory to another union territory, there is a geographical location, right? So it is from one UT to another UT is interstate. Within the same UT or within the same state is treated as intrastate supply, provided the following supply of goods shall not be treated as intrastate supply. Saying what is not an intrastate supply? Supply of goods to a SEZ or a SEZ developer or a SEZ unit. So any supply you make to a SEZ developer, like say in Karnataka itself, within the same state itself, there is one SEZ unit. SEZ units means special economic zone units where they get a special license to export their goods. Okay. Since they are getting a special license to export their goods, there is a law which is called a Special Economic Zone Act, okay, which gives special treatment to these SEZ, Special Economic Zones, and they are in the state, but they are treated as though they are a country outside India. So when you make any supply to this SEZ, they are also treated as interstate supply. So they will not be treated as intrastate. Within Karnataka, I'm supplying. SEZ also is in Karnataka. Geographically also, it is within the same state. But any supplies to this SEZ is an interstate supply. Okay. Then goods imported into territory of India till they cross the customs frontier is also not an intrastate. Because when I'm buying anything from a airport, that airport is in my state itself. Still, it will be treated as import because it's a import transaction. Then supplies made to a tourist. If you're making any supply to a tourist who is a foreign tourist, then also it is treated as an interstate supply, not an intrastate supply. Second, 8 subsection 2 says supply subject to the provision of subsection 12, which we have discussed, which is on supply of services, where the location of supply. So 8.1 is on goods and 8.2 is on services. Same thing, what is there for goods apply here. Subject to the provision of subsection 12, supply of services where the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state or same UT shall be treated as intrastate supply. Again, same thing here. When you make an intrastate supply to a SEZ, it is not an intrastate, it is always an interstate. Then further, there is an explanation which says, for the purpose of this act, where a person has an establishment in India and any other establishment outside India. So you have one establishment in India, one outside India, or an establishment in a state and any other establishment outside that state. You have one branch in Tamil Nadu, one more branch in Assam. So these two, even though you are one company, but you have two branches, okay, then, or if you have an establishment of a state and any other establishment being a business vertical registered within that state, you know that within a state you can take 2 registrations. Not necessary that for all your branches you should take only one registration. You can have multiple registrations if you prove to the authority that you are having a separate business vertical. So in that case, then if you take 2 separate registrations, then the establishment shall be treated as establishment of distinct person. What is the meaning of this? Why is this explanation there? To say that if you are making any supply within the state to any other unit which is registered under GST, you have taken 2 registrations, then within the state, registration 1 to registration 2, whatever you supply you do, you have to charge GST and that will be intrastate. Okay. And when you are making any supply to outside the state to any other branch, then that even though it's a different branch, even though it's your own branch, because under one PAN number, you will have to have only one PAN number. ABC Limited, ABC Company Private Limited is having one PAN. For income tax purpose, you will file only one return. But for GST purposes, you have a separate branch in another state. So any supply between this state to another state is an interstate supply. So you are one for the purpose of income tax, but for GST, you are 2 different people. Okay. So within the state, outside the state, you will treat them separately. Within the state, 10 branches not registered. Okay. Within the state, 10 branches, only one registration you have taken. So when you make any supply between these branches, is it a supply or not a supply? Come on, we had a good session till now. Let's make a good ending. We'll close the class also before time, but we will need answer. I will need answer for my questions. One answer which is come is for additional place of business, we have to take separate registration. Somebody is saying it is supply. If you are saying no, it is not a supply. I'll repeat my question that I have 10 branches within a state. And when I do any transfer, in same state, it is transfer fine. But should I, on that transfer, should I pay GST or no? If it is without consideration, okay, not to supply being distinct, not to pay GST, should pay GST, CGST, SGST, no GST, no need to pay GST if they are registered under same PAN. Okay, they are registered under same PAN because for each branch you don't get a PAN. Okay, that's why I've used the word specifically PAN. So if it is branch, then you will not take a different PAN. GST is exempted on supply under same PAN. Oh my God, no need to pay GST. Most of you are saying that if registration of each branch is taken, then it will be supply, otherwise not. Good, correct answer. That's the only correct answer. I would say that when you are having 10 branches and for each branches, you have not taken separate registration. You have taken only one registration. Then any transfer within these 10 branches within the state is not a supply because of this definition which says an establishment in a state for the purpose of this act, not only for this section, it says for the purpose of this whole act, an establishment in a state or any other establishment being a business vertical which is registered within the state or union territory, then such establishment shall be treated as an establishment of distinct person. If you are having 10 branches, no separate registration, one registration, then you're not distinct person. But if you take separate registrations, then you are a distinct person. Then any supply between distinct person is liable to GST. Otherwise, any stock transfer you do, you will charge CGST, SGST. That branch will take the credit. So within the same branch, within the same state, one registration is exempted, you could say, or you don't have to charge GST. But if you have separate registrations, then you have to charge GST. Clear? Correct. Similarly, if it is outside the state, then compulsorily you have to charge because outside the state, whether that person is taken registration or no, still you have to charge because in clause B of this explanation, an establishment in a state or union territory and any other establishments outside that state. It just stops over that any establishment outside the state. Read the law properly. It didn't tell that outside that state, registered within that state. Okay. The special words given for establishment in a state is coupled with registered within that state. So since within the state, if it is registered, then you will treat it as a supply. Outside the state, even if it is not registered, because there is a absence of these words here, which means that outside the state, even if it is not registered separately from one state to another state, you have to charge GST. Okay. So stock transfers, when we do, generally stock transfers, when you have done branch accounting, one branch's sale is other branch's purchase. So you will offset and you will not show, you will neither show purchase not sale there. Correct? And it will not be in the financials itself. But GST says if you are doing any stock transfers within the state and having different registrations, pay GST on that. You will pay GST, he will claim the credit. Fine, but you have to charge GST. Do we have to take separate registration for SEZ? Yes, for SEZ, since it's a different region, even if it is within the state, for SEZ, you have to take a separate registration. ठीक है. So मैं in establishment of distinct person समझा रहा हूँ. Establishment of distinct persons का मतलब समझ लीजिए, बहुत जरूरी है ये, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर कहीं पे भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. नॉट ओनली इन द केस ऑफ प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई, इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट में भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. क्योंकि जब मैं एक एस्टेब्लिशमेंट हूँ, एक पैन एक एंटिटी है, इनकम टैक्स में, जीएसटी में एक पैन एक एंटिटी है, लेकिन उन्होंने फर्दर कह दिया है अगर मेरा एक एस्टेब्लिशमेंट इन इंडिया एंड अदर एस्टेब्लिशमेंट आउटसाइड इंडिया, तो दो पैन है, दो कंपनी है, चलेगा. लेकिन आपका ब्रांच आउटसाइड इंडिया में है, तब भी वो एक अलग एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है, आप अलग एस्टेब्लिशमेंट हो. अभी पॉइंट नंबर 2 पे आते हैं. जब आपका एस्टेब्लिशमेंट एक स्टेट में है और एक और एस्टेब्लिशमेंट दूसरे स्टेट में है, तब आप कुछ भी स्टॉक ट्रांसफर करते हो या कुछ भी सप्लाई करते हो, उसे सप्लाई माना जाएगा. ठीक है. थर्ड क्लॉज कहता है अगर आपका एक एस्टेब्लिशमेंट इन अ स्टेट है, एस्टेब्लिशमेंट मतलब एक शॉप बोल दीजिए, एक बिजनेस बोल दीजिए, एक यूनिट बोल दीजिए. अब एक यूनिट से आप एक और यूनिट को सप्लाई करते हो, तो दोनों के एक ही पैन है, दोनों भाई भाई है, ब्रांचेस हैं, तो आपको कुछ जीएसटी चार्ज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. लेकिन जीएसटी लॉ बोलता है अगर आप एक दुकान से एक एस्टेब्लिशमेंट से एक और एस्टेब्लिशमेंट आप कुछ सप्लाई करते हो और आप दोनों जीएसटी में रजिस्टर्ड हो, ठीक है, तब आपको जीएसटी चार्ज करना पड़ेगा. बिकॉज तब आप कहे जाओगे विल बी ट्रीटेड एज एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ डिस्टिंक्ट पर्सन. आप अलग अलग पर्सन हो. जब आप अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन एक स्टेट में ले लेते हो, तब आप अलग अलग पर्सन हो. आपको एक ब्रांच से दूसरे ब्रांच विद इन द स्टेट सप्लाई करने के लिए जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. सेम पैन इंटरस्ट अप्लाई आईजीएसटी. करेक्ट. आईजीएसटी सीजीएसटी तो वही रूल है, क्योंकि आप आउटसाइड द स्टेट सप्लाई करते हो तो आईजीएसटी, विद इन द स्टेट सप्लाई करते हो तो सीजीएसटी एसजीएसटी. क्लियर रिया द हिंदी एक्सप्लेनेशन? Can you take registration SEZ with same PAN? Yes, we can take. If consideration is there for a transfer between a registered and unregistered establishment in the same state, will it be considered supply? Yes. If there is consideration or no consideration, Schedule 1, when you discuss supply, okay, there was a clause mentioned that any transfer between related persons without consideration is also a supply. So any transaction between a branch to another branch without consideration is also a supply. For additional place of business within a state, should we take separate registration or one registration? If you have a additional place of business within the state, you can use that same registration unless you want to have a separate business vertical. Matlab, I have a garments business, I am into wholesale. Now I want to open a retail. You have two options. You can add that retail business address also in your wholesale business as an additional place of business, or you can take separate registration. But outside the state, you cannot add it as an additional place because each state is separate for GST. Outside the state, you have to take separate registration. Can a person take registration of Haryana for Delhi establishment? No. Delhi is separate, Haryana is separate. Separate registration will be required. Okay. Second explanation says a person who's carrying on a business through a branch or an agency or a representative office in any territory shall be treated as having an establishment in that territory. जैसे आपने branch or agency in any territory, territory मतलब outside India हो गया. If you are taking anything, then it shall be treated as having an establishment in that territory. ठीक है, which is not relevant for you क्योंकि आपको import or within outside country का relevant नहीं है, but just I mentioned it here. Then the last aspect for discussion in place of supply is when there is a supply in territorial waters. Territorial waters का मतलब क्या है? आप देश के बाहर कर रहे हो कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन लेकिन टेरिटोरियल वाटर्स में कर रहे हो. It says that notwithstanding anything contained in this act, जो भी एक्ट में कहीं पे भी कहा है उसको नजरअंदाज करके where the location of supplier is in territorial waters, ठीक है, अगर the location of supplier itself is in territorial waters, then the location of such supplier or where the place of supply is in territorial waters, मतलब either the location of supply is in territorial waters, then what will be the location, or if the place of supply, जब हमने place of supply rules पढ़ा है, that place of supply is falling under the territorial water, ठीक है, जैसे मैंने on board a conveyance कह दिया है and that conveyance is getting, मैंने कुछ service वहां पे territorial waters में supply किया है, then the place of supply shall for the purpose of this act be deemed to be the coastal state or the union territory which is the nearest point of appropriate baseline is located. Okay, agar I supply something on the territorial waters means the waters up to the 12 nautical miles, right? Territorial waters is not defined, but we understood from the definition of India that up to 12 nautical miles is the territorial waters of India. Now, what this section tries to say is, suppose take an example that there is a ship which came from some country, I don't know. It came to my coastal port and because of some problem, it couldn't travel. It was halted in my state, which is Kerala. Kerala is open thing. All the three sides has water. So it had a ship which came in and it had stayed here. Now, when it was staying here, the ship got damaged and some parts has to get supplied. So a ship part company came from Karnataka and saw this ship. This ship is UK company ship. Now they called the UK company, boss, please repair this ship. So Karnataka person came, brought the tools from Karnataka and did the repair in ship. Okay. So it is one of the transaction when Karnataka supplier is supplying to a UK customer. So it will be location of supply Karnataka and place of supply UK. But no, this supply section 9 says when there is a supply in territorial water, because the supply is happening in the territorial water itself, which is in Kerala, which is the closest point of the appropriate baseline. That ship is closer to Kerala, then the place of supply is Kerala. Okay, so any supply which is happening in the territorial waters, then the location of such supplier, location of supply, where the location of supplier is that, in my case, Karnataka is the location of supply because I'm coming from Karnataka. So A will not apply, B will apply where I'm supplying it within the ship, which is a territorial water. The place of supply is Kerala. So I will charge IGST mentioning place of supply is Kerala, but I will invoice to UK because UK person will pay me. So that is the question of place of supply in territorial waters. Another example, the lot of services which are happening in the sea, like Kerala backwaters is happening. The place of supply is that backwaters ship itself or the boat, right? So it is in Kerala, so the place of supply will be Kerala. That is what section 9 is saying. If within a state, two units, one is registered and one is not, is there a supply or not? Yes, there is a supply because one registered and not unregistered, it becomes 2 units. In intrastate supply transfer of goods, registered ho ya no ho, IGST liable. Intrastate supply transfer of goods, registered ho ya no ho. I didn't understand your question, Kunjan. थोड़ा clearly बताइए. Same PAN, we can take multiple registration. Yes, we can take, possible. Yeah, any more questions? In different states, we can use single registration? No. In different states, you can't take single registration because registration is state-wise. How can location of supplier be in territorial waters? जैसे ये पेट्रोलियम एक्सट्रैक्शन हैपेंस इन बॉम्बे हाई, वहां पे इट इज इन द टेरिटोरियल वाटर्स. रिलायंस हैज इज बॉम्बे हाई में उसका एक ऑफिस भी है वेर इन ऑल द पेट्रोल एक्सट्रूजन हैपेंस, oil ores, all the ores happen. So it has a place in Bombay High. Then that Bombay High itself becomes the location of the supplier. Thank you, Ajay Chauhan. Thank you, Jeroen. If you understood this concept, I think this is a good achievement. The toughest chapter of all other things, other chapters might be lengthier, but to understand this chapter, it is really tough. In case of intrastate supply, only 2 subsections is there. Correct. And in case of interstate also, only 2 subsections. Yeah, interstate multiple, intrastate only 2 subsections. So the notes on charge I have uploaded. Have you seen it? Please explain once again the place of supply in territorial waters. So territorial waters says that where the location of supplier is, will understand A separately, B separately. Where the location of supplier is the territorial waters. Good example is a Bombay High, jahan pe in Bombay, outside Bombay, there is on the territorial seas, there is a petrol extraction which happens. So the location is the territorial waters. जैसे बॉम्बे हाई में देखा आपने कि पेट्रोल एक्सट्रैक्शन होता है, ठीक है, तो वो टेरिटोरियल वाटर्स है, उसका लोकेशन जो है टेरिटोरियल वाटर्स में रहेगा, लेकिन वो आउटसाइड इंडिया है, उसका कुछ लोकेशन नहीं है. यू कांट से दैट इट इज आउटसाइड इंडिया बिकॉज इट इज विद इन द 12 nautical miles of India. So which is the closest appropriate baseline, which is the coastal state closest to it? Bombay. So the location of that territorial waters ka jo hai, that becomes Bombay. So the location of supplier for Bombay Highs will be Bombay itself. And then if there is any supply, second part now, where the place of supply is in territorial waters. This our example of ship which was stuck in Kerala. The service is happening in the ship itself. So the place of supply is ship. ठीक है, जो ये ship है उसका रिपेयर हो रहा है केरला के हाई सीज पे, which is closest to Kerala. So the place of supply हो जाएगा केरला. ठीक है, the close place of supply actually वो ship की जगह पे है, वो जो ship territorial waters है, लेकिन territorial waters का अलग से कोई state नहीं होता है. So the closest जो कोस्टल एरिया है या जो स्टेट है, जो यूनियन टेरिटरी है, वही उसका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई होगा. सो द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी द क्लोजेस्ट टू दैट टेरिटोरियल वाटर. Territorial waters means any waters from the baseline up to 12 nautical miles of Indian borders is called territorial waters. Which GST will apply? Mumbai High. Mumbai High is in India. Location of supplier is Mumbai. So from Mumbai, where you supply, where is the place of supply, that will be the respective GST. Thank you, Aisha. I will ask the technical team to kindly upload the notes on portal, including today's notes as well. For income tax, those two states, what do we do? For income tax, we file one return itself. Okay. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Sangeetavani. Thank you, Rito Banerjee. Thank you very much. Good night, and we have plans tomorrow exemptions. So we'll meet tomorrow on exemptions chapter.